the book on lifelong learning, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm too old for that." I'm too old to start learning about AI and all this sort of thing. And that's why there's a lot of people sort of undermining themselves. You never stop learning. And I did that. My first book published at 73-year-old, my second book published at 78-year-old.
Wait, you're 70. Wait, how old are you now?
78. I say to people, when I was 40, I said I wanted to be 40 for at least 60 years. But I've been 40 for 38 years now.
But also there's so much knowledge that gets lost. Mm-hmm. I feel like, like these two books you've written, you've now kind of documented and created this kind of, I don't know if you call it legacy or whatever, this knowledge that you've now captured, that if you went to wrote those books would have just been lost to history and your experiences. And you have unique experiences. You have unique things to share. Hi, I'm Matt Levenhagen, founder of Unified Web Design, Unified Plugins, and your host of the Builders Podcast. Here on The Builders, our goal is to uncover the first principles behind building businesses, products, and services. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you're listening. And if you find value in our content, a like, share, or review is always appreciated. Let's dive in and explore the roots of innovation and progress together. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are joined by George McGillivray. Is that good? Did I do good, George?
Yeah.
All right. If I say it really fast, then I can't, no one will know that I mispronounced it. McGillivray. Anyway, welcome to the show, George.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So, George is an author of two books. One on local marketing, I think you said, and then the other one is about lifelong learning. You've also been doing web marketing for 25 years, but you said you've been in business for at least 50 years. You don't look old enough to be in business for 50 years. You're looking pretty young to me.
I was 2.
But no, it was funny as I was preparing for to sit down with you today. I was just, poking around, kind of getting refreshed from our original intro call. And I dropped in on your LinkedIn profile. And as I was just going down, I'm like, let me just look at his experience and what he's doing today, local marketing and stuff. And then I'm looking back, I'm like, he's got something like, he was a managing director back in 1980 to 87. Your experience goes way back on your LinkedIn profile. I think I actually cut mine off at like 2000 or something. And I'm like, I don't think people need to know that I bartended, I worked in this restaurant here, I did some insurance stuff, and I was an artist. And like on my LinkedIn, I think I was born in 2000. That's when I started working. But I think that's awesome because you bring a ton to the table, right? There's probably endless stories there and a ton of experience that you bring to the table. And that's why I'm excited to talk to you today and introduce you to the audience. So with that, here's where we start. Let's start a little bit about with your story, with your origin story, maybe not going all the way back to your birth or anything, but let's talk about, kind of where you come from, kind of a high level, 5-10 minutes, maybe max. And, kind of what you've done in your life and how that's led to and informs what you do today. Cause that's where we were going to get to, because we're going to talk about in this episode about, we decided out of all those experiences you've had, probably the freshest experiences is with being an author and having written a couple books and why you wrote those books, how you wrote those books. I haven't really dug into that in detail with anybody before. And we had authors on the program, but I don't think we really got into really the nuts and bolts, or very, it's different for everybody too, how you approach it, which you have a unique approach and why behind it. But but your story kind of informs why you're doing what you're doing today and why you wrote these books. So let's start with that. I'm going to throw it to you, and you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I come from Fort William in the west coast of Scotland, and I left school at about 17. But I'd been working part time in a filling station, filling cars with petrol, when a gallon of petrol used to be 5 shillings a gallon over here, which is probably about $6 or $7.
Or 6 or 7 cents, maybe.
And when I left school, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I kept this job on, just working in the filling station, petrol station. And one thing that I did learn was that, you know, when people used to come in for petrol, I used to fill them up with petrol. Then I say, "Can I clean your windows, or can I check your oil?" And I always found that worked very well. I used to get lots of tips. And I remember I was approaching 17 and applying for my provisional driving license. And a guy came in with a little Mini, and I'd been learning to drive in a little Mini. And I said, "Can I check your tyres?" Because the airline was just, you know, a few yards to the end of the forecourt of the garage. He says, "Yeah." So I jumped in the car. I didn't even have a provisional driving license at the time, but I used to get lots of practice that way. And then I used to fill them up, the air in their tyres, and then everybody was happy. So I had learned that doing a little bit more for others was a good thing. That was an early lesson for me, but I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I had done various jobs, but I ended up going to the local, what we call labour exchange, looking for a job, and I got offered jobs as van drivers and lifting oil cans up onto lorries and things. That's not really what I wanted. But then the manager phoned me back a few months later and says, "We've got a vacancy in the office here. How would you like that?" I said, "Well, that sounds interesting." I thought, well, it'd be a good place to find out about other jobs and careers and things like that working in this office.
Yeah.
Cut a long story short, I did go there, and I got promoted up to... there was a new building project in Invergordon, which was about a couple of hours' drive from Fort William. There was a company in Fort William, the British Aluminium Company, had a big factory in Fort William, and they were opening up a new smelter in Invergordon. And they wanted all the recruitment to be handled by, which was then called Department of Employment and Productivity. So I was going to be going up there as a site officer for the Department of Employment and Productivity, a real fancy title.
Sounds very fancy, yeah. I was going to say, fancy was a word that came to mind.
Fields there when I arrived, and it was attached to a sort of a local labour exchange office. I had to work under the manager, but I had the office to myself. And my job was to sort of check people coming looking for a job. I would send them to the various general foremen on the sites as it built up. And I used to get a government Mini and a tin helmet and drive around the sites. I felt a big shot driving around the site, meeting the general foreman, and I loved it. And then through that, I met other labour officers that were coming working with the companies the company developed. One of the companies poached me. They wanted me to be the recruitment officer for them, and I did that for a while. But then I started thinking, I'm 23, 24 at that time. So I really have to start thinking, do I want to do this for a career, or I want to do something else? So I started thinking about it. Then I saw this advert for the National School of Salesmanship, and there was a correspondence course. And it was really good, but you had to get practical experience. So I ended up going round doors selling Venetian blinds and fire extinguishers just to get experience while I was still working.
Oh, just like random stuff?
Yeah, just to get experience to see if I could get sales. And then I got... I drove from Invergordon to Glasgow to a sales seminar, and a chap says he was so impressed that I travelled all that way at my expense to learn about selling. He offered me a job, and it was a company that did promotional items, like pens with the names on them and your branding and driving license holders and all that sort of thing. But I had to work in a factory for 3 or 4 weeks. And so I was working in this factory on these machines and typesetting. And then another offer came in for a job with a company called Telephone Rentals, which were a big telecommunications company. So I said, that sounds really good. I'm going to take a gamble on this. But I had to give up that job and travel by train to Manchester at the time for an interview. And it was the people were locked out. It was a Saturday morning. We had an interview in a cafe, and they were impressed. They said, we'll send you up to the Scottish area manager. So I ended up going up there. I ended up getting a job with Telephone Rentals. But I had a little time, a few weeks before I could start. But when I did start, I was working under a guy. And he says, well, you're not the type of chap we would normally take on. And I said, well, thank you very much. And I didn't really do well with him. I was going to prospect. I changed over to another guy. And I started getting rude because I would call everywhere, prospecting, getting the information to see if they were suitable for any of the services that we did. And I started getting really well, doing well. Then they promoted me up to Aberdeen. So that's how I ended up in Aberdeen. And then one of the chaps that worked with that company left to start up a catering equipment business. And he tried to get me to work for him. I says, no, this is a good job I'm in. But I did start selling microwave ovens part-time, and commercial microwave ovens for heating food in the pubs and things like that.
Yeah. Can I just stop you for just a second? I'm curious why, what attracted you to sales? It seems like you really, this is something that like the opportunities that were coming, you're like, if it's sales related, you were getting good at it and you're getting excited. Like, I was doing good at that. And what was that?
Well, I made up my mind that I wanted to have a business before I was 30, but I had no idea what business I wanted. But in that advert for the National Schools of Salesmanship, you saw the guy with a car and his wife and his kids at the window and waving. Oh,
right.
And I thought, God, that's me. And I remember the first day when I moved to Stonehaven. And, I had a couple of young kids at the time, and I was in this company car and waving, and I thought, that's it, I've done it. I've got this far, I've achieved that.
Yeah.
So I started to like sales and meeting people and talking to people and getting them to have faith in me and trust in me.
Right.
That was a great satisfaction from sales.
And it sounds like there's this other thing that I'm seeing a thread here. Like you are visualizing yourself. Like at one point you said, I was thinking, is this what I want to be doing for the rest, eventually, or for the rest of your life or whatever? But also sale, you're like, you saw this picture of, and I'm like, that's what I want. And then you went for it.
Yeah.
And sales was the ticket to get there.
That's right.
Awesome.
Yeah. So you're doing sales. Where does that eventually lead you? Well, eventually I started, I'd run various businesses. I've never worked for an employer since 1974. So
these are all your own, even though you're doing sales, it's just kind of your own business that you're running.
In the early days, it wasn't. I was working with the telephone, but then when this company, he left to set up a catering equipment business, and he tried to get me to work for him, and I did part-time. But then he said, we'll set up a company in Aberdeen and make you the managing director. So that was my first as part of a business. I did that a number of years. But then what happened? I did a few things. I think the parent company went bust, and I went in with another guy doing catering equipment, and then I started going into domestic kitchens. Took on a big kitchen showroom, so selling domestic kitchens. I can tell you lots of stories about that. But then that resulted. A business consultant said to me, "What do you know about the internet, George?" I said, I don't know, what is it?
What's that? Yeah.
He says, find out all you can about it. It's going to be big. So I took a course on how to build postal websites. So I built a website for Stonehaven, where I was living, and that's been running 24 years now. And that was to promote the town and to promote the businesses. So that's when I set up my company, Webicom Marketing, 25 years ago. But it was coming up for 20 years, and I got the chance to write a book. It was a guy that did a book writing course, and it sounded really good. I attended a 3-day boot camp and went through a process, and it made it very, very simple. I started to write my book in December 2019, and I made up my mind I wanted to get it ready for publishing before my birthday on the following 1st of February. On the 31st of January, I sent my transcript for it to be published. But one of the things I was taught to do is decided what you're going to write about. And he suggested local marketing because I had been doing that for 20 years. And he gave me ideas for getting the topics for it and how to set up the chapters. And then we had to get the title of the book. We got the title. And he was a famous and a New York Times bestseller, the publisher himself. So he said he would do the foreword for it for our first book. So that was perfect.
Nice.
Got a foreword for a famous personality, and we had everything all set out. And he said, don't worry about the cost of the course because you'll pay for it before you even finished it. And I thought, well, that sounds really interesting. But in addition to that, another internet...
Heard that before.
You said he would pay half the course. I thought, well, that's even better. So I it, and I got my book completed. But one of the things that I do remember, he said, when you tell somebody you're an author, they'll just go, wow. So I'd put a post on Facebook and social media with an image of the cover of the book, saying that I'm the author of the forthcoming book, the book on local marketing. So I hadn't even started writing it. And I was getting a woman.
You weren't done writing it yet, so you're already promoting it. Yeah.
I'd made £500 within about a week, and then I'd got other bits and pieces. I ended up I'd made over £3,000 before I'd even started writing the book. So that was really interesting. That got me excited. So, yeah. I took a lot of, I put a lot of thought into it, used my own experience and experience of other marketers. I did a lot of research, taught how to do research. It's much easier nowadays with AI than it was then. I see a big difference in the 5 years. But that's how I got started writing a book.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's a journey. And I find it fascinating, you know, as you were telling about the sales, kind of circling back for a minute, you know, you're talking about your sales background and stuff. And I always find it interesting, like how the things, your experiences in your life, like inform or help you do better in some other, you know, part of your life, whether in a business or whatever you're doing later on. Like I think about like myself, in the 90s, and I don't go back probably as far as you, but I started working and doing you know, my first businesses and stuff in like the 90s. But in the 90s though, I was focused on sales myself. I mean, I was a big Zig Ziglar fan. I had his audiobooks and other sales figures back then. And I was studying sales because I saw it back then. I saw it as kind of like, I liked the potential of sales. Like it was like, there wasn't as much of a ceiling. Like if I put in the work, I could do, you know, it would actually reflect in how much money I could make and whatever. It didn't quite work out that way, but anyway, but I look at what I do today and I think of all that sales, the studying and being out into the, you know, actually selling. I did the door-to-door stuff. I sat across the kitchen table selling insurance. I've done all that stuff. And I think about, you know, I take it for granted today that I had that experience, but I got to wonder how much of that influences how well I'm doing today. And even when, like talking about back to you, like when you're writing this book and you're thinking about writing this book, it's coming from a perspective of not just the content itself and obviously your knowledge around local marketing and all that stuff, you know, about marketing, But even all that marketing experience, all that sales experience is helping you, start on the, when you're writing this book, you're not just writing it. You have this idea that this is how I'm going to sell it as you're doing it. And that's got to inform what you're doing, how you're writing it, how you're approaching the topic, how you're going to frame it so you can sell it. But you're not, but the interesting thing, as I talked to you in previous conversations, is that you're less worried about the sales, right? Is that correct? You're more worried about, I'm able to tell somebody I'm an author.
Yeah, well, but that can lead to other things. The author gives you that credibility. So, but this is what I'm doing with my latest book, the book on lifelong learning. I could write a book about each of the topics that are in it. In fact, I'm going to do various courses and things through that. So it's all the ancillary stuff that you can do by being an author and using the information that you're passing on to other
but
people.
You're actually selling the being an author and having a book helps you sell your services or yourself.
Yeah.
That's really, at the end of the day, that is another piece. It's kind of like building a sales page, right? You have a sales page with copy on it, obviously, but it's not just copy. It's like suddenly I have testimonials. Yeah. I have bonuses. There's a formula to getting the most conversions. But now, okay, I have a service or I have something I want to help people with marketing or whatever. But I have this other thing that is going to put me on a pedestal above other people, like build my authority. And that's what you're doing. When you say you're an author, you're building your authority. So I imagine that's what your thinking is, right? Yeah. With a sales background.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about kind of the nuts and bolts of, let's start with the local marketing one. And I'm curious about the lifelong learning one too. We can talk about more about that topic there a little bit, but what is the process you go through? Now you said you took a course and you don't need to reveal the whole course today, but what did you learn from that course and how did you apply it specifically? Like, what was that process like? Coming up with the topic, obviously that starts there. Like, this is something you have experience with. You've done local marketing or marketing for many, many decades or whatever. So you have expertise there and you want to share that now. What was that process of writing it and then bringing it to market? Let's get to the nuts and bolts.
When I started the book, I was just doing this part-time, setting up the website for Stonehaven. I thought, when I decided to learn and find out about the internet, and the guys, it's going to be big, find out all you can about it. And I thought, if I could learn, now I'm not really technical, but building a website, that wasn't even in my thoughts, or I didn't know anything about it. So then they had various topics that you could pick. So I picked hometown. And I thought, well, I could try and set something. So I started researching, first of all about Stonehaven, and I was learning a lot myself about the town, the things that I didn't know about, and the history of the town. So it was a fascinating experience. And then I started, learning more about marketing and how to build other web pages for other people, build websites for other people, and it just all started off from that. And then through that, because I was doing a lot for the town, and nobody was paying me for that, apart from people that took a website from me. But I was approached by the head of the local council to see if I would chair a tourism group. They wanted to set up a tourism group to promote Stonehaven, because I was already doing stuff anyway. Would I be interested? So there was a meeting, a few people came along, and then there was a vote for chairman, and I got made chairman. So I made a lot of contacts through that. And then I was made chairman of the local business association. Then I was a director of Stonehaven Town Partnership.
Wow.
All through doing that, all within a short period of time. So I spent about 8 or 9 years spending a lot of time in the community and getting to know people. But it reached a stage that I'm doing so. My business was starting to flounder because I wasn't spending enough time on the business. I was making plenty of contacts and stuff like that, but I was too busy organising different things for other people. So I had to step back a bit from that. But it was good fun doing it, and I learned a lot from that. You learned a lot about different businesses as well doing that, and you learned how other people think and businesses, and I was getting just plenty of network meetings and meeting different people.
So you're like, during this whole experience, even though you're not, you started to not focus on your business as much, you were more focused on community stuff and all the other things you were doing, but you're observing. You're seeing how other people are building their businesses and these connections you've made. You've learned a lot from them. And now I assume the story is going to go into, well, I started applying that.
Yeah.
To your business. Yeah.
That's what, so when it came to, when I did my first book, and it was 10 online secrets for local businesses. So I just gave them, and I had people like yourself, like web designers. I'd go to do talks, and people would buy the book. I was do a discounted offer on the networking session. And a web designer, I remember from London, for me, says, George, I've been in this business for years. I've got a big agency, but there's a tip I learned from your book.
Nice.
Yeah. So
what was that one? That's before the local book?
No, this was at the local. When I was giving a talk on the local marketing book, and I was offering it at a discounted price, was explaining what it was about. But other people who have been in the business for a while picked up, because I just said you're bound to learn something out of this book, whether you're in the same sort of business or not.
You just need to learn one nugget. Like a lot of books you read that way. It's like, I knew that. Oh, wait, never thought of it that way, or never thought of that thing. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
that's awesome.
But that's what I was trying to learn. I never, and then as I was getting older, a lot of people were a lot younger than me, but they were saying, "You seem to know an awful lot, George." That's why I've been around for a lot longer than you, and so I started applying that, but people were starting to respect the knowledge that I had. And that's what triggered for the book on lifelong learning. Because a lot of people say, I'm too old for that. I'm too old to start learning about AI and all this sort of thing. And that's why there's a lot of people sort of undermining themselves. You never stop learning. And I did that. My first book published at 73-year-old. My second book published at 78-year-old.
Wait. You're 70. Wait, how old are you now?
78. Or I say to people, when I was 40, I said I wanted to be 40 for at least 60 years. But I've been 40 for 38 years now.
Awesome. No, I don't know. I guess I didn't know your age, when you throw those numbers out, it's like, oh my gosh, 73. You published your first book. It's just so inspiring to me. Now I'm only 54, young 54 years old, and but you start to think at this age, oh, the clock is ticking. but I love seeing somebody that's your age though, is still creating, still doing business, still engaged with the world. And I feel like the other thing and this is kind of a little bit, I guess it's part of the topic, but I also feel like there's a lot of people that get older and besides the fact that they start to think that they can't do stuff anymore, maybe they get in their own heads. But also there's so much knowledge that gets lost. Mm-hmm. I feel like, like these two books you've written, you've now kind of documented and created this kind of, I don't know if you call it legacy or whatever, this knowledge that you've now captured, that if you went to wrote those books would have just been lost to history and your experiences. And you have unique experiences, you have unique things to share. And I think maybe this podcast turns into, hey, focused on this particular thing, where as we're getting older and stuff, that there's still time. There's still plenty of time to do these things.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of time. Like think about my agency, I don't, maybe in 20, 25 years, I can still be running this agency or want to be. Maybe I'm not as old as I think I am.
No, definitely not. You're very young. One thing that really thrilled me was because when I put up that thing on Facebook, I am the author of the forthcoming book. I remember my son phoned up my daughter and says, "What's Dad talking about writing a book?" What's he on?
Whoa.
What's he on?
Is he off his rocker? What is going on?
I remember when I got it. I remember my son and his wife and two grandkids came in, and they sat on the settee in our house, and I had just got my copy and first copy before it was actually published. And I said, "That's what your dad's been up to." And they came to the page. I dedicate this to my wife, so my son Paul, my daughter, and the grandkids. And grandkids going, "My name's this book."
Amazing.
Yeah. And they were just, their eyes lit up. They felt really proud of their granddad then.
Sure. Yeah, that's inspiring. You're turning into a great role model for your family, and
that made it really worthwhile.
Yeah. So the book itself, did you write it all yourself? Did you have help authoring the book?
Well, I got trained how to do research. I would do research, and I'd just pick a topic, and then I thought I would look up other things on it, and I would get bits and pieces off the internet, and I would put something together. But I had a system which I was taught, and that was like 10 chapters. I'll not go into all the details, but
I'm curious because you don't have a writing back. Did you?
No.
Do you feel like? Did you write articles? Did you have a blog? Did you have any kind of writing background that informed you to?
And I wasn't a good reader. My wife read an awful lot. The only reading I did was business books and things like motivation books, Zig Ziglar and people like that.
Yeah.
I read but I never did any writing whatsoever.
But you did it.
I did it.
And so you just started writing. You just sat down like, I don't have experience, but let me just start writing.
Yeah.
And by the time you, like one day at a time, one page at a time, and before you know it, you have a book.
You just do a chapter, so get one chapter, get all the headings down first of all, get your topic, then get the headings that relate to that topic, and then find research information on that topic, and add in your own experience, and that's where it was fun. So you kind of had a framework from that class you took, or whatever you took, and framework.
But that's something you could also, if somebody listening to this that doesn't have access to that particular program, you probably can Google that, kind of how to structure a book, and or ask ChatGPT today, help me walk me through this book. Yeah.
A bit easier now than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like just in a few years, how everything's changed.
Yeah.
But that's incredible. And then when you're done with it, do you have? How do you give it to others to read, to get feedback, or how did you polish it?
Well, firstly, as part of this course, which was really good, we had a book architect. As part of the cost of the course, so he would review the stuff and says, "No, I think you can do that." So that was a big help at the start in getting the structure and the wording right. But then once that's done, once you've got it all, you've got to get it proofread, and then and so quite a lot involved in that, and how to set it all out properly and stuff like that. So it's not just writing the book; it's all the other stuff, and that can be quite expensive. But even taking all that into consideration, it was still well worth it. You didn't have to depend on book sales to really to do it.
But so So you had proofread. Somebody helped you proofread and get the book into. What was the hardest thing about that process? Do you think? Was it the
paid for it? No. No, you had professional people that would do it, so you knew the job was being done properly.
Yeah.
And then everything was all done under the publisher. So the boy that did the training course was also the publisher. So that made it.
So your secret sauce is this training course and getting help, not doing it yourself.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, a lot of people would say, that was one of the things he says. Well, you can get, because you could promote this program and get an affiliate commission for it. Which could pay your book if you really. But I didn't really bother much with the first book, because when I got it published, COVID came, and I had engagements lined up for speaking and talking about the book. But the whole year was just wiped out. And then I thought, well, but at least I've got my book. I couldn't promote it in any sense except for talking and networking. So I didn't put a lot of work into it. But for this book, I'll be doing a lot more now. I'm speaking at networkings, and I'm going away to do some other campaigns on that at the moment as well.
So how are you marketing it? You said something about speaking, or
well,
like you were going to do that in COVID, but maybe you're doing that now. How are you promoting it?
I'm talking a lot about it at networking meetings. I mention it all the time, and it's great. So I'll maybe do a network, and a couple of weeks later, I'm going on a network, and I see somebody that I saw already, and they're holding up the book. I've got your book. That's a great feeling. So I'm actually going to a conference in Inverness organised by a Circle Network, a group I'm part of. There's a woman held it up the other day, and she says, "I know you're coming to the conference in Inverness. I want you to sign the book for me." So,
nice.
Things like that give you a great feeling, give you a buzz.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. So, I mean, basically you're just shouting it from the rooftops. You're getting out there, you're networking, you're talking about it, you're showing it as often as you can. Yeah. And that's the strategy. I mean, you're not like doing advertising or.
Well, I will be doing other stuff to promote. I mean, there's a guy, if you check my LinkedIn profile, there's a guy called Gareth Williams who does a lot of video work, very creative guy, very energetic guy. He did a fantastic review for me.
Nice.
And I just posted it a couple of days ago. And I know there's been sales as a result of that.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's the other key here. You're getting in other people's hands, even if you have to give them a copy.
Yeah.
And they give you a review, and then you can share that review to your network, to social media or whoever. Or are you going to build? Now you have some experience building websites. Do you have a website where you promote these things?
Yeah, I've got a website. bookonlifelonglearning.com. Just bookonlifelonglearning.com. And the big thrill for me was, I don't know if you've read the Go Giver series of books. Fantastic. That was authored by John David Mann and Bob Burg. Well, I'm a member of Bob Burg Go Giver community, and there's a lot of places are recommending him all the time. And I asked him if he would do the foreword for me for my book. He said he's really stopped doing it, but he says, for me, he might, but he wanted to read the manuscript first. So I took a bit longer over it than I sent him the manuscript, and he said he would do it for me. So I was really proud to get someone like Bob Burg do the foreword for me.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, and that's just about building, again, networking, but also building relationships.
Yeah.
And so when you are ready for that ask, you've already built the relationship there. He probably already knew you.
Yeah, well, he knew me quite well, and I'd done some workshops for him as well.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So it's funny because I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people in business and in every kind of business out there. And so many businesses are just, it all comes down to that networking and building the relationships. And I mean, we can talk about advertising and go down that route, but there's so many businesses that whether it's consulting or coaching, or now we're talking about books, or even agencies, running my agency. Really, my agency is all built on networking people I know. They say, the old saying, it's who it's who you know. That's how you build things, is so true. And it seems like that's really underpins kind of your success with things. But you're still, at the same time, what would you say your goal is by sharing, by writing this book? Well, let's talk about the lifelong learning book. What is your goal with that one?
Well, one, it's a legacy for me, but you're never too old to learn. I mean, I've got some stories in that. People, if you think of David Attenborough, who does television programs on, animal life, sea life, and all that sort of thing, in his 90s, still doing brilliant broadcasts on television. I mean, that's what I want to be like. And I do singing and stuff, go out, entertain people, raise money for charity and stuff like that. And I love it. So all these things like that, and I cover that in my book about the importance of being part of a community and not being afraid to learn new skills. Because when you learn a new skill, like that was like me, I wasn't a writer. I said, well, I've got a chance to learn a new skill here. And I've learned it. Now I've published another book, and I'm working on 2 others, which will probably just make ebooks at the moment. So if I want to build up digital assets, so like my website is an asset, my book is an asset. I've got a video tool called Lead Chest, which is another asset. So I'm gradually building up a number of digital assets that could last for long after I've gone, which could be
that's a great thing. Even me, I think like all the stuff I'm building now will outlast me. It'll still be here out on the web somewhere, as long as somebody keeps paying the hosting anyway. But basically, so you're building these digital assets. You got the website, you got the books, you got all these other things going on. I mean, but what is like, why are you doing it though? Like, are you doing it so you can sell yourself and sell services, or you just want to, like, what do you want to be an author? You want to be able to tell people you're an author. Yeah. Maybe you want to make some book sales along the way. Maybe that is kind of part of the gig, but what's your ultimate reason?
I love making people smile. I love making them feel good if they're in my company. And as long as I can keep doing that. I mean, most people my age I go down to see a lot of fishermen, maybe in their 60s, just standing with their bunnets. That type of life is not for me. Not for me.
Right.
I just love meeting people and having fun. I haven't had one L of a life. I have 5 L's of a life. Live, love, learn, laugh, lots. That's my mantra.
What's the last one? Lots?
Live, life, laugh, lots. Laugh a lot.
Lots.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Nice. Yeah, I love that philosophy. And I love, so basically you're doing it because you enjoy doing it and you want to give back. You love people.
Exactly.
You love making people laugh. You want to have some kind of impact.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I like making people laugh too. I try. Like the hardest person to make me laugh is my wife. But I do once in a while. I break through. That's a big accomplishment for me. Yeah. But yeah, it's that's incredible. It's so inspiring. Like I said, I need to talk to more people like yourself that are out there, and I have friends that are older that are also out there, building businesses or coaching and just doing podcasting or whatever they're doing. It's just so inspiring. Like, I think if somebody, like, our core audience is actually, if my stats are accurate, my core audience is like individuals from like 25, 30 years old till about 45, 50. That's my core audience. And I have older, I probably have some younger. But, speaking to those, somebody at that age, it's like, number one, you have so much time. Right. There's so much time. Do you have any advice for somebody that is younger, that maybe, I always see this on YouTube and stuff where they're like interviewing somebody that's older. Like, do you have a life lesson, or what would you do if you were, 30 years old, or what would you say to somebody like that?
3 things. One is surrender to the present. I have a saying that I choose to live my life in the present moment and appreciate each day for what it is, a precious gift. Let go of the past. The past is nothing more than a blip in time. You can't do anything about the past. You can only do anything about right now. And thirdly, have faith in the future. Be confident. If you keep learning new skills and keep being happy, keep being kind, being very grateful for what you have, you'll never have a problem.
Amazing. Yeah, lifelong learning. I mean, that's that's something, like I said, I think you see a lot of people out there that seem like they've kind of given up. They don't read. They're kind of stuck where they are. They just, but I don't know why I kind of like naturally have always wanted to learn. Like you mentioned, you're learning, you're reading business books and marketing books, and you're not reading fiction. Like I'm forcing myself actually right now to read some fiction because I used to, but in recent decades, all I do is because I just want to succeed. I want to learn. I want to, I'm passionate about what I'm doing. I've worked really hard to get where I am, and I want to continue to improve and be more successful as time goes on. And now I feel like I have tons of time. Obviously, your health can impact that. You have to have, you're really, really sharp for your age as well. But that's something that's that some people struggle with. They, everyone declines or is in different shape in their 70s and 80s. Yeah. But it's just inspiring. What a great story. And I appreciate you taking the time today and sharing that all with us. Is there anything else you want to share in terms of writing, life, any other lessons that we should take away?
Just never stop learning. You
never stop learning.
That's it. Some people think, I'm 30 now. Oh my God, what am I going to do? People think I'm at 30.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I always feel old. Like, I mean, even when you're like 40s, oh my gosh, I'm old. It's all, it's past me. Yeah. But you got so much time. Yeah. And so if somebody wants to, learn more about you, where can they find you on the World Wide Web, and where can they, if they're interested in checking out your books, where do they find those?
Well, go to bookonlifelonglearning.com. That website tells you a bit more about me, and it gives you access to Amazon. But if you go to the website first, you'll get bonuses. I've also written, provided as a bonus, it's a PDF. It's a lot of pages on developing resilience and overcoming anxiety. And I give a worksheet with it as well. And I give 2 audios of that book. One is a female voice and one is a male voice. So
cool.
You get all that with the book as well. That's probably worth even more than even if somebody orders the Kindle version. They can get that as well. So they get good value. But then they get a chance to learn much more from me in the future.
I'm smiling because I see the salesperson in you. It's like, this is the value. You get this bonus. I love it. That's great. That's how you give a lot of value and get people to check you out. And where do you hang out on the World Wide Web? I see you on LinkedIn. Is that your main place, or you're on Facebook?
I have a personal page on Facebook, and I've got a business page as well. I haven't spent. I've been doing a bit more on my personal page now because I get so many people wanting to connect with me on my
Sure.
personal. And I was wanting to keep that separate, but I tend to post anything on it now.
Yeah. It's always, yeah.
I haven't really got much into TikTok yet.
What did you say?
I haven't got into TikTok yet, but
TikTok, yeah. You're planning on it?
Yeah.
I went through my TikTok phase. I'm out of that at the moment. Yeah. When it first kind of came out, I was into TikTok. Anyway, I'm going to let you go. Thank you again for joining us and sharing your story and sharing all your insights. It's been super inspiring for me, and I'm sure it will be for the audience. Until next time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Builders Podcast. One more quick note about our sponsors. At Unified Web Design, we're passionate about doing better together, partnering with agencies and businesses to deliver exceptional web design, development, and ongoing support. And Unified Plugins offers tools to take your WordPress projects to the next level, helping you build beautiful websites, enhance functionality, and drive more conversions. If you haven't already, subscribe or follow to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, sharing it with somebody who might benefit helps us grow this amazing community. Until next time, keep building with intention and creativity.